You ever seen someone walk into a courtroom after saving lives all night and get treated like she walked in off the street drunk? Yeah, that happened. And her name was Maya Brooks. Maya's 35, a trauma nurse, a single mom, the kind of woman who can reset a dislocated shoulder with one hand while holding a kid's IV steady with the other. That morning, she didn't have time to change. She came straight from the ER, scrubs still damp from rain, shoes still stained with someone else's blood. Not because she wanted attention, but because she didn't want to be late for a custody hearing that could change her daughter's life. But the moment she stepped into courtroom 4B in Fulton County, Georgia, everything froze. People didn't see a nurse. They didn't see a mother who just worked a double shift at the city's busiest hospital. They saw wrinkled scrubs, worn-out sneakers, a black woman who, in their eyes, didn't respect the court. Judge Catherine Weller didn't even wait 5 seconds. "This is a courtroom, Miss Brooks," she snapped from behind her polished oak bench. "Not a locker room. Show some respect." Maya stood still, her hands folded, like she'd done 1,000 times beside gurneys. Her face didn't change. Not yet. Not even when the courtroom gallery let out that low murmur, that sound people make when they pretend to whisper judgment. Her lawyer, Reuben Klein, stood to object, but the judge didn't even look at him. "Save it," she said, waving him off. "This woman is asking this court to grant her custody of a minor, and she shows up like she rolled out of bed?" Maya looked straight at her, calm, direct. "Your Honor, I just finished a 12-hour trauma shift. There wasn't time to change." That didn't matter, not to Weller, but what did matter was that someone, somewhere, was watching that courtroom feed, live-streamed, clipped, uploaded, and within hours, millions had seen it. The hashtags came fast. #LetHerWearScrubs, Nurse Justice, Real Respect. But Maya? She didn't know any of that. She was too busy fighting to keep custody of her 10-year-old daughter, Liana, while her ex, who hadn't shown up for a single pediatric checkup, argued that Maya's job kept her too distracted to be a good parent. The irony? It was the same job that kept Liana fed, clothed, and in therapy after that man walked out. Let me back up a sec. That shift Maya came from? It wasn't just any shift. A 5-car pileup came in around 2 a.m., a 12-year-old with a collapsed lung, a bus driver with glass embedded in his neck. Maya didn't take her breaks. She didn't stop to cry when one patient coded. She just kept going, because that's what she does. So yeah, when she walked into that courtroom, smelling like antiseptic and desperation, she looked tired, because she was tired. But you know what else she looked like? Present, which is more than you can say for a lot of folks in that room. Now here's where things turned. The opposing attorney, slick little man named Carson Doyle, tried to twist the knife. He stood there with his $1,000 haircut and said, "Miss Brooks, would you say working night shifts leaves you too emotionally drained to prioritize your daughter's needs?" Maya didn't blink. She said, "Every shift I work pays for her speech therapy. Every call I answer keeps food on our table. So if I'm tired, it's because I'm showing up, even when he didn't." The gallery went silent. Judge Weller scribbled something. Maya's lawyer looked like he might cry. But the twist? Oh, it was coming. About 10 minutes later, the courtroom door opened. No one was scheduled to testify. No one called a new witness. And yet, in walked Dr. Elena Mendez, Chief of Emergency Medicine at Central Atlanta Medical. She didn't ask permission. She didn't even sit. She stood in the aisle and said, "Calm as you like. I'm here on my own time. Because if this court thinks Maya Brooks is anything less than exceptional, then I need to speak." Judge Weller raised an eyebrow. "This isn't protocol." Dr. Mendez shook her head. "Neither is watching one of my best nurses get humiliated for doing her job." The courtroom? Dead silent. Mendez went on, voice steady. "Maya's been with us for 7 years. She doesn't use her job as an excuse. She uses it as armor. She's the reason a 6-year-old survived a cardiac arrest last month. She's the reason I didn't quit during COVID." That's when something shifted. Not just in the judge's eyes, but in the entire room. Even the bailiff looked uncomfortable. By lunchtime, there was a crowd outside. Nurses, paramedics, firefighters, all in uniform. No signs, no shouting, just presence. One by one, they lined the courthouse steps, silent, proud, and very, very visible. Back inside, Maya got a text from Liana's teacher. "Just wanted you to know, Liana looked sad after lunch. Some kids teased her, said her mom looked like a janitor on TV. Maya didn't say anything out loud, but her fingers trembled. Ruben leaned over. "You okay?" Maya nodded. "Just kids." Then came the breaking point. Someone in the gallery, another attorney maybe, whispered, not as quietly as he thought, "Another angry black mom playing the victim." Maya didn't flinch, but Judge Weller, she heard it. And for the first time all day, she looked shaken. It was like something cracked open in her spine, like she realized this wasn't just about a nurse in scrubs. This was about everything the robe had made her forget. The next morning, Judge Weller called everyone back into session. No fanfare, no apologies yet. Just one action. She reached for the transcript, flipped to her own words, and said into the mic, "Let the record reflect, all prior commentary regarding Miss Brooks' appearance is hereby struck." Then she paused, looked directly at Maya, and said, "Your presence has reminded this court that strength doesn't always wear suits. Sometimes it walks in late, in wrinkled scrubs, and still holds the world together." Ruben didn't have to say a word. The case was practically over. Carson Doyle, remember him? Slick hair, sharp tie. He stood up and said, "I withdraw my closing argument." People gasped. "I withdraw," he repeated, "because the truth no longer needs to be argued. It's been lived." Yeah, that happened. When Maya walked out of that courthouse, she didn't feel triumphant. She felt seen, for the first time in years. And as she stepped down the courthouse steps, the crowd parted. Then, Liana came running through them. Backpack bouncing, ponytail flying, tears in her eyes. Maya dropped her folder, bent down, and caught her mid-run, right against her chest. It wasn't about winning anymore, it was about being there. By the end of that week, #ScrubsInCourt was trending in 6 countries. Medical workers showed up to hearings, to DMV lines, to city halls, in full uniform, just to prove they belong anywhere they show up. Maya didn't do interviews, she didn't post on Instagram, she just kept showing up, to work, to PTA meetings, to bedtime stories. But a few weeks later, she got a letter from a judge in Nebraska. Said he watched the video, reread his own court's dress code, and rewrote it, to include a line, "Essential workers shall not be penalized for wearing professional attire consistent with active service." You know what Maya did when she read it? She folded it, slipped it into the same drawer where she kept her badge, her hospital ID, and those scrubs, the ones with the faded stain from that trauma code. Liana saw it once, asked if they could visit them in a museum someday. Maya smiled. "Yeah," she said, "one day." Because some uniforms aren't just clothes. They're witnesses. To service, to sacrifice, to truth, and sometimes to justice finally catching up. Now I want to hear from you. Was Judge Weller right to scold her at first? Or did she cross a line the moment she dismissed Maya's entire life based on one look? Does justice still care more about appearances than truth? Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who's ever been underestimated just for showing up. Because sometimes, showing up is the bravest thing you can do.